So what might happen if Shane and Ilya were my clients? What if Ilya and Shane had a compass to help them navigate their lives? Not a literal compass, obviously, although with those two, I wouldn't mind kind of seeing what that would be like. What if they had a framework for navigating the conflicting pressures of hockey, of masculinity, secrecy, ambition, identity, and the relationship that makes them feel most alive? And what might happen if Shane and Ilya were my clients? I'm Dr. Dave. I'm a therapist and a coach, and I'm just starting this series over the next few weeks around what if Shane and Ilya were my clients? What would I do with them? What if I had somebody like me, a therapist, coach, but also somebody, I was a college athlete who learned the ropes of coming out later in life. I've developed a process, a framework for helping people not only come out, but navigate identity, direction in life, and just how to have a happy, healthy, meaningful life. And so that's what I'm going to be looking at over the next several weeks, pretending Shane and Ilya were my clients, and also pretending I was my own client. So I didn't really come out until later in life, like I said. And so I've had to navigate these things pretty much on my own. And so I've learned a lot from that process that I want to now imagine, what if I could help myself with what I know now? And so I'm going to be walking you through this process of how I would work with others, Ilya and Shane and myself, and how also you might be able to help yourself as we walk through this compass process together. And so you can do this with me actually and help yourself by walking through this coaching framework I call the compass. And so each letter in the compass stands for a different coordinating point, a different step in the framework. And I'll be taking you through this framework over the next several weeks. And so please subscribe and stay tuned and be ready for potentially life change for yourself. If you're at a transition point in your life, or you just want to go deeper into understanding yourself, or you really need to navigate a difficult situation, this might be the framework that you could use to help transition and to do something different in your life, or to become happier and healthier. So that's my intention for the series. So like I said, I call this coaching framework Compass, COMPASS, and each letter is an acronym. It stands for a different part of the coaching process. Before we get into that detail around more what that looks like, I want you to ask yourself this question: where in your life do you need a compass because the old map that you've been working from no longer works? Maybe it's something related to your work, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's identity, purpose, faith, sexuality, creativity, or the next chapter of your life that you feel is forming, but you can't quite name it yet. So during the series over the next several weeks, I'm going to try to start each Monday with a compass question to help set up the week for you and the coordinating point that we'll be talking about. And so on Wednesdays, the Happy Heated Rivalry Hump Day will be really kind of an in-depth look at how I would help Ilya and Shane from this compass framework. And then on Fridays, I'm going to have a reflection back on the week, if I can manage the time. And I've actually recorded real sessions and how I've walked with real people through this process. So I'll be sharing that on Fridays, kind of glimpses of that. So let me come back to that first question that I mentioned earlier. Where in your life do you need a compass because the old map no longer fits? A map is helpful when the route is clear, but sometimes the route that you inherited no longer leads where you need or want to go. I mentioned a few of these kind of ideas before. There's the success map, the masculinity map, family map, the religious map, the relationship map, the keep everyone comfortable map, the hide that part of yourself map. Some of those maps may have helped us survive difficult or chaotic times. But at some point, survival is not the same as being fully alive. That's one reason I created the Compass framework. It's grounded in research on meaning, identity, purpose, strengths, belonging, values, and well-being. It has also grown from my own experience as a therapist and as, like I said, a gay athlete, closeted athlete for many years, trying to come out. So it's based in both scientific research and psychology and counseling, and then my own experience kind of working with myself, but also as a therapist working with other people. Compass isn't another rigid self-help formula. It offers a structured way to ask better questions when the old map no longer works. And that's certainly true for Ilya and Shane. If they were my clients, I wouldn't begin by telling them what they should do. I'd begin by asking them about their origin stories and the maps, their worldviews, their values that have brought them to this point. So before Wednesday, before we get into the deep part of how I might help Shane and Ilya in the compass process, take 3 minutes with this first compass quest question. Where in my life do I need a compass, something to help me navigate life? Because the old map really no longer fits. So reflect on the question and join me Wednesday as we officially begin this new compass coaching series by asking, what if Ilya and Shane were my clients? And what if they had a compass to help them navigate their lives? I'm excited to find out where this takes us as we look at these fictional characters, very real in many ways, fictional characters though, Ilya and Shane, and what if they were my clients, kind of what would I do with them, but also integrating some of my own story with this process, like how would I help myself in this similar situation. Okay, I'll see you Wednesday for a more in-depth look at this compass framework and how I'm going to work with Ilya and Shane as my clients. All right, have a great couple of days and I'll see you Wednesday.